My guest today calls the street his home. A place where he learned harsh and great lessons. With his band High Fate, he takes the energy from busking gigs to the stage.
Yes, sir.
His playing is highly energetic, incredibly funky, and in your face. His name reminds me of a movie star from the Roaring 20s with the same last name. Welcome to this episode, Harry Valentino.
Hello.
You're not related to Rudolph Valentino.
No, I wish it was. I wish it was.
How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Last night's show in The Hague was great fun. We had a good time. One of my favorite crowds I've played for.
Yeah.
Wow. Just straight off the bat, first song, going crazy. Me and the boys were amazed, to be honest. It's nice when you show up to a show like that. I feel like it gives you this joy almost. It gives you this, it feels like you're taking a drug or something. Just when you have a crowd that are so, from start to finish, they didn't stop. They just kept giving us everything that they had, which was cool.
But I guess it must have been a two-direction thing, right?
Yeah. I think that when the crowd is like that, it makes us play even better. And it's this exchange between us and the crowd, and it's quite nice. It's like a dance that we do with them almost. It's pretty cool to have that with an audience. I feel like with a lot of audiences that we play with, it is about that. It's this back and forth. You're not there. Okay, maybe you bought a ticket or you came to the show and you came to see us, but it's like we have this thing going on with the crowd that's kind of cool. And I like that. I like making it personal with the crowd, even if it's a big room, making it feel small so people are like, which is nice, I think. I don't like being too far away from the crowd sometimes, at festivals and stuff. When it's too far, it feels a bit, it can feel disconnected almost, but then...
Can you come a little? Yeah.
It can feel disconnected maybe with festivals and stuff sometimes. I love a festival show, but it just kind of depends. Sometimes it feels like you're too far away from each other.
It's funny that you say that, because one of the thoughts I had while listening to your music is like, this is the kind of band of which you kind of wish they will remain somewhat small. And I mean that as a big compliment.
We've had that with some things of people saying that to us, but they're also like, I can't wait to see you playing a stadium, which is cool.
Because I have the feeling these guys will be huge, but I at the same time desire like, oh, please don't grow too big.
I think that for a lot of people, I really think it's cool that a lot of people will be able to say, oh, I've seen them here and I've seen them playing in this, in this venue, in this smaller place. Because I love playing the clubs. During the summer, we played only festivals, I think, for almost a month and a half straight. And then we went and played a club show, and we were like, oh man, it's so nice to just play a sweaty room. Everyone's just going crazy. The people are there. I'm here. Like, it's cool. Because the festivals and stuff are great. I love playing a festival show. It's great fun. It always sounds cool. It sounds massive. They've got huge PAs and stuff, and it's loud, and you got so much room to run around. But there is something special about just playing a club. I think that even if we do end up playing stadiums, I'll still go and play club shows because we enjoy it. And that's a big thing for us. It's because we enjoy it. We want to do that. Even if it goes wherever, I don't have an expectation or a thing that I don't like that. I don't be like, oh, if we do this, then I'll be happy or I'll feel... I just enjoy the process of
it doesn't work
gigs.
like that, right?
No, it doesn't. And I think as soon as you put this ceiling on it, then if you achieve that, then after it, you'll feel lost in a sense. Because you're like, oh, cool, I've done the thing I wanted to do. Whereas for me, I'm like, I don't think about it like that. I'm like, it's just the next gig. My favorite thing someone will say to me is, you're only as good as your last gig. And ever since that, I'm like, yeah, cool, okay.
Who told you that?
That was one of my guitar teachers. His name was Philip Thorne. Fantastic teacher in Scotland. He taught me a lot like classical kind of stuff for about a year and a half. Amazing teacher, full of wisdom, proper old school guy.
So not just the scales, but also like
yeah, he got me into a lot of like Brazilian classical music. I spent a lot of time like learning Villa-Lobos kind of stuff, and I really just went down a rabbit hole with Villa-Lobos for a while. It's all I played for, I think, about 6 months. Was just.
Is that where your love of the groove also started?
You know what? I love a lot of Spanish music, and it is very groovy, but a lot of it's like intense grooves, like a lot of flamenco stuff. To some people, it might just sound like, very fast and, it's all shreddy stuff, but there is a lot of groove element. It's all about that like compass, your internal kind of timing. And I love that they have these grooves and it's split into like all these different claves and stuff. And I think that it's cool to play with that. Maybe in hi-fi, there's not as much of like a Latin feel, but I think that loving that feel and being able to bring it out sometimes, me and Calvin sometimes will, live we'll joke, depending on what songs we're playing, we might chuck in like one bar of like making it feel very Latin for a second, and people are like, what? Oh, it's funny. Ollie will keep the bass line the same, but me and Calvin will change what we're doing just to spice it up. And I think my love for Spanish music and Brazilian music is something I always grew up with. I'm a big fan of like Paco de Lucia, Aldemiola, John McLaughlin, those guys. Friday Night Live in San Francisco is still for me one of my favorite albums and records to listen to. That was kind of my introduction to guitar, to be honest, was that.
Yeah.
So it was some pretty intense stuff.
Was that through that teacher or? So
that was through another guy that I was learning off of. His name is Dallas Patterson. Amazing teacher as well. I was playing with him for maybe a year, and then we started playing together for a little while and doing like a duo thing. We were trying to be Aldemiola and Paco de Lucia.
Who were you?
I was Aldemiola.
Oh yeah,
sure. Yeah. He was.
So
Paco.
I remember having a really hard time ignoring a super annoying fly, but
no.
Oh man,
I'm gonna try and get it. I'm sure we'll get it.
Yeah, but we have like 30 more minutes or something before we have to kill it. So you were Aldem before the end of this chat. So you were Al.
Yeah, in that scenario, I'm a big fan of Aldemiola. His playing style is cool. All like alternate picking kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just got a good feel. I like his approach to like timing and stuff. He's very on the whole like just make sure your timing is good. It's not really about what you're playing.
You showed up here 2.5 hours later.
I know. Exactly.
So you should listen more to Aldemiola.
Yeah, I know. It's one of those. Today we were like, I'm not going to lie. But last night we went and had some fun after the show. So it's the first time in a long time. When we're on the road, we never drank. We never really, we're always going to the next show, the next place.
Except yesterday evening.
So last night, since the show was so much fun, I think we all had so much energy. We were we need to do something. We tried to go back to the hotel and sleep.
Yeah.
And it just didn't happen. We were like, nah, let's go and burn off some energy.
Yeah,
so
all good.
It was good fun.
So, but you said it was my introduction to guitar music.
Yeah.
So what age were you then?
I started playing guitar at 15.
And then that was instantly with Aldemiola, Paco de Lucia.
So I was into like a lot of heavy metal stuff for a long time. That was my first stuff was like a lot of heavy stuff, a lot of classic rock. And then I got into like jazz fusion kind of stuff. And then I got into like Chick Corea. And then after that, I then got into like Aldemiola and Paco de Lucia and all those kind of guys. And then I've always loved funk. I've always loved James Brown, Earth, Wind and Fire. If anytime a James Brown song comes on, I'm like, yeah.
What was that played at your house when you were young?
Yeah, my mom and dad were very into. They were into two different styles, but somehow it kind of like came together. My dad is very into like soul and Motown and funk stuff, and then he was into like a lot of classic rock, like Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, Pink Floyd, Free, massive fan of Free, love it. Free Live. I have an album that I got given the other day of Free Live. It's still on the windshield of the car because I don't have anywhere to put it right now, but it's on the windshield of my car. So, yeah. And then my mom was like massively into disco, a lot of R&B kind of stuff, other like different kind of soul stuff, a bit more like modern soul kind of stuff. And then she's also into like a lot of like house music, a lot of dance kind of stuff. So then I just kind of picked up all of that as I was growing up. It's funny, my mom and dad still send me songs now to like listen to, which is funny. Yeah, we always send each other songs.
They're your algorithm.
Yeah, pretty much. Man, I'm not gonna lie, my mom sometimes sends me a song and I'll be like, this is insane. It's funny. She'll send me like certain disco tunes and I'm like, this is nice. Same with my sister as well. There's so many songs I've stolen from my sister that I'm like, oh, this is a cool song. I'm gonna add that to my playlist. I have a playlist on Spotify that has like, I think almost 5 days worth of music.
Oh wow!
And it's,
From your family?
Just from stuff from me, from other people. If I like a song, I just put it on the playlist. Everything from like Meshuggah to, George Michael is on there. So there's a broad mix of stuff. It's very sporadic. It changes a lot. But I like listening to a lot of different stuff. I don't really think that one genre fits what I listen to at all. I think as a guitar player, you kind of have to listen to a lot of different styles of music.
Yeah, but that's also the appealing thing of the guitar, that it's so versatile, right? That it's both Meshuggah, but also in George Michael's song, there's also a funky guitar.
There's a guitar in both of them, and it sounds completely different, but it's still a guitar.
Yeah,
it's amazing what people can do with a guitar. To be fair, what we've managed to achieve in the human race in terms of guitar is nuts. To show how much is available on it, and everything from even old school jazz stuff to the modern jazz. Seeing that change is amazing, to be honest. I think it's really cool. And for me, I don't think about doing like new things on guitar. That's not my goal. If I do something that's cool or is different or have a different playing style, sweet. I think that it's cool that people like what we're doing and what my approach to guitar is, but I don't think about it too much. I just enjoy playing guitar. And as long as it's kind of fast, I'm cool with that. I'm like, okay. But I do like nasty, groovy riffs as well. It just kind of depends on the song, I guess.
So, but there was a lot of music in your house, and then at 15 you picked up the guitar. So what happened? I mean,
so I started playing guitar at 15, and then I couldn't play rugby anymore. So I used to play rugby when I was younger. Played rugby from like the age of 4 until about 15. Then I got an injury playing rugby, so I couldn't play rugby anymore. And I was like, oh, I still want to have a hobby or something that I do. So then I picked up a guitar, and then I think within about 3 weeks, it was like, oh, this is good fun. I'm getting there. This fly. It's her friend. I'm sure. I'm sure it'll be okay. And then from there, I just really kind of fell in love with it. I was very obsessed with playing guitar. I didn't.
So did it fill that gap of not being able to play rugby anymore, or?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine now. Like, I broke a vertebra in my back and all this kind of stuff. And then I had to, I was a chiropractor for ages and physio and all this kind of stuff. And then picked up playing guitar from that pretty much. My dad plays a bit, and then he's got a great voice as well. He's a much better singer than I am. And then from there, I just kind of fell in love with it and fell in love with like music properly. And then I never planned on doing this to make a living or as a job. I just was like, I just really enjoy playing guitar. And then I got into doing like social media stuff and whatnot as I got older. And then I spent, I'd say, a good 5 years just practicing and playing gigs all the time, every day. That's all I would do. I just play guitar every day. I'd come home from school, I'd play guitar. I went to the City of Edinburgh Music School, which is it's like a program. So it's part of like a high school. I didn't study at university or anything or nothing fancy like that. Once I finished high school, I pretty much just went out into the world and started playing guitar.
You say I didn't plan it, but there was a big urge from the get-go then to make it a big thing in your life.
Yeah, so I always have wanted to play guitar and do music. I've always wanted to be involved in music in any shape or form, whether it was I do photography sometimes, but I do only for like music stuff or like DJ stuff. And I had a big thing going like that. At one point I was doing like photography gigs, and then I was working with festivals doing all sorts of stuff like stage managing or anything to do with music. I was happy, even if it was more like the admin side. I was very up for. I just wanted to learn as much as I could about music, not just guitar. I think my thing almost goes further than guitar. I think it's good to be well-rounded.
But about the whole business then, because if you know how to manage a stage and do some
I love the music business stuff. I love learning about it. That's probably one of my biggest things with High Fade. I do like all the social media for High Fade, and I kind of run like the business side of it. My dad works for himself. He runs his own business. So, via like osmosis, I almost picked up that kind of business element to music. And I don't think that music should be, music and business are two separate things, but you can't do one without the other.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have a business if you're not playing any music, and you can't really play any music for a long time if you don't have the business side sorted out. I feel like a lot of musicians almost overlook that, and they rely on other people to do it. And I feel, as harsh as this may sound, I feel like a lot of people, they are good enough. They're great musicians, but they just don't have the business sense in order to fully understand how to survive off of music. And surviving off of music is really hard, but it doesn't have to be if you get the business side of it down. Don't get me wrong, me and the boys aren't living in mansions or anything, or we're still doing this in a car.
Oh, you had a decent, we came with a decent car.
With a diesel car. So it's one of those that I think that a lot of people need to, I've always found a way to kind of survive doing music. I would always, while I was building the high fade, I was always working, doing something else as well to help that. I would work my photography job and then go and play a gig that night, and then go back to my photography job on my break during the gig. So my Friday nights in Edinburgh would look, so on a Tuesday we would play Stramash, on Wednesday we would play a place called Whistle Binkies, just a regular pub gig. It didn't pay very well, but it paid enough to survive because you were doing it every week. So every week we would play from 12:30 at night until 2:30 a.m. do a 2-hour show on a Tuesday night and a Wednesday night. It wasn't very busy for a long time. For about 2 years, it was very quiet. And then as time went on, it got busier and busier, and we kind of built our following in Edinburgh for that. And then before we knew it, a lot of people would show up on a Tuesday and a Wednesday night to see us play and try out new stuff. And we'd play covers, we'd play originals, just anything that we wanted to play. And then we'd take Thursdays off, and then Fridays I would do my photography job, or wherever I was just freelance. And then I would do the photography, play a gig. So I'd go to this club, and then the venue that we would play at, usually on a Friday, was about 100 meters up the road. So the road's here, and then the club's here. I'd do the photography, I'd go and do sound check, finish sound check, come back to the club, do more photography, go back to the venue, play for 45 minutes. Then we'd have a half an hour break, and in that half an hour break, I'd go back to the club, do more photos, then go back to the gig, do the second set of the gig, and then go back to the club and finish my night there.
Wow, man.
And then on a Saturday, it would be pretty much the same thing for a good few years. It was
man. But
there was a lot of stress and trying to survive off of being creative is hard, I would say. But I think that once you build it to a point, it can be done. But it takes time.
What I find interesting is that for a lot of guitarists, it's some sort of struggle, right? The whole content creator part of like some of them, are not interested, or they don't know how to do it. But for you, it really feels like, okay, this is really part of what I as a musician need to do.
I think that if I want to be able to do this for the rest of my life, I need to kind of build that into it, because like you don't make any money off of millions of views on social media. You have to build that following, convert those people. They have to then follow you, and then ideally they come and see you at a show, or they buy your merch, or you all these different things. And there's so many things that you can do, but you have to be equally as creative in the business side of it as you are with your music. And I think that finding the balance between both is where you hit this sweet point where you can then survive off of just your music, and you're like, cool, that's great. And that is the best feeling in the world. And if anyone ever asks me like, oh, what will make you feel like you've made it? I'm like, I've already made it, because I get to do this as a job full time, and it's great. And I get to do it with my two best friends. So I have no complaints as far as working hard for it goes. I don't mind that. I enjoy working hard on something that I care about. It doesn't feel like a job, even though it is my job, and that is like the job description. It doesn't feel like I have a job. It more feels like I do this thing that I enjoy doing, and that makes me happy.
Reminds me of what Tommy Emmanuel said. He said, what's the most important thing that people should say after a gig?
Oh.
And he said, when are you coming back? Because he said we need a good job as musicians. So leave them with that feeling.
And when will you be back?
Yeah.
It's true though. I think it is very true that, and I think that you need to almost leave it all on the stage when you're there. Like, we don't care if there's 30 people, 300, 3,000. We're going to play the show, and we're going to go nuts regardless of where we are, who it is, or because you never know who's going to be in the crowd. We played a show in Groningen in January, and it was freezing, and there was maybe 30 people there. We played in The Hague, and it was crazy busy. And then we played in Assen. The show was sold out. It was nuts. But the show in Groningen, because there was another festival on at the time.
Oh, yeah.
So everybody was there. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Eurosonic probably.
Yes, Eurosonic. That was the one. So everyone was at that. They weren't at our gig. But 5 people there that were at the show, out of the 30, all ran festivals in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
And one guy was from Czech Republic, and he came from Czech Republic to see us play. And then he booked us for Rock for People.
Wow.
And they had, who did they have this year? They had Corey Taylor playing. They had The Prodigy. We went and seen The Prodigy. That was nuts. My mind was like, they had so many of our favorite bands. And it's more like a
show,
rock.
Like you have to be there. And
there's 30 people there, but 5 of those 30 people all run festivals. And then we got booked for Manana Festival because they came to see us play. And then it's one of those, you never know who is in the audience and who after the show, maybe for 5 minutes, wants to speak with you. I love speaking with people after a show. It's great because you don't know. You don't know what people do or who they know or anything. You got to open yourself up to that, you know.
Yeah.
I don't like when bands just like run off the stage and go and disappear out the back. I'm like, no, go and speak to the people that have come to see you play, and then they will keep coming to see you play because it's nice. I love when I see someone at a show for the 3rd time, and then I'm like, oh, hey, how's it going? And then we can just speak as if we're friends because now we know each other enough to be like, oh, hey, how are you? Oh, what's been happening since the last time I seen you? It gives you something to talk about, which is nice.
I was about talking about things. I want to talk a little bit about your playing.
For sure.
What appeals to me is so much, it's the energy.
Nice.
But also the way it fits in a band. You're playing. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I like it separately. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But the
in the band setting,
it's the full package.
I think that playing guitar in hi-fi is, I'm not gonna lie, it is a hard job because I have to switch between rhythm and lead all the time, and that's what keeps it interesting and keeps it fun. It's almost dangerous because I'm not just a rhythm player. I'm not just a lead player. I have to do both for the band and sing. Playing and singing is hard. I still find it hard now. Like all the new stuff on the album, I'm still having to practice. I still have to practice all the time, singing and playing it, because it takes a long time to get good at singing and playing something new together. And some of our stuff is hard to play while trying to sing over the top. There's 2 different things going on. And some of the new stuff is a lot more like technical in terms of like vocally. So I'm trying to work on that while playing the guitar. Just playing the guitar part is fine, but then trying to play that guitar part while singing is what makes it kind of hard. I think the role in the band though, I love that I have this freedom almost. I just play guitar. Calvin plays the drums. Ollie plays bass. We don't really, when we write, I guess, or when we make when we're making the stuff, no one tries to tell someone else what to do. I'm like, I have this thing. I'm in guitar world. You're in bass world, and you're in drum world, and then we bring it together, and we mainly write together, I would say. Or I might write a riff, or Ollie will write a riff, or Calvin will start playing a groove, and then before you know it, I'm like, oh, cool. Like at soundcheck yesterday, we started playing this jam. Ollie just started playing one note, and then I kept adding to that, and then he was changing then what his bass line was, and I was like, this is a song now. I'm like, we should. Luckily, someone got a video of it, which is great, because I was like, oh, we should keep this. This is actually quite good. I think most of our songs just come from like a soundcheck jam a lot of the time.
But for me, you guys are a good example of how the sum of all parts can be bigger than the separate entities, right?
Yeah, I think that as a band, you have to play as a band. It's not about, and I hate when I go and see a band and there's one guy that's really good and everyone else. It's not that they're bad musicians or anything. It's because they aren't contributing to the band. You're not there for you. You're there for the band. If he's playing something, you need to play something that works with what he's playing, and vice versa. And your drummer needs to follow in with that, or your drummer needs to lead that and leave you the space to create on the top of it. And I think we're quite good at recognizing that with each other. We know each other very well. We've basically lived with each other for the last 2 years. Pretty much every day we've been touring. I spend more time with Calvin and Ollie than I think I ever have with anybody else in the world ever. And I know them better than I know anybody else in the world, and they know me better than anyone else in the world. So I think it translates in the music sense when we get going, when we have time to sit down and write and practice and do our thing. I do feel it's quite magic sometimes, because we don't need to say anything. We just start playing and everyone kind of adjusts to each other. And it's kind of cool to feel that when me and Ollie don't need to say anything. We just look at each other and we're like, cool. We don't tell each other what to do. We just almost know what the other person wants to hear. We're like, okay, oh, this is cool. And then we pick up each other's body language now, just from doing something. Someone will move a certain way, and you know what that means almost. It's like our own language.
Yeah, but that's I think really the power of your band, that you, as an audience, you feel that like these guys know how to reach each other, at least, and via that also the audience.
And I think that's the thing, is once we're like that, everyone else kind of joins in on it, and they can't help but join in on it, and we're the same, as we can't help but put it out there. So it's this constant exchange. It's like yin and yang in a sense. Us and the audience,
and something else.
Yeah. It is one of those. We just seem to us and the audience are very much kind of interlinked, I think, and I think that's what makes it cool. And like last night, someone on the show said they were like, "You guys are doing something new," and it's not being done in this way. And they were like, "We don't even know what genre to say, because it doesn't fit in one thing." They're like, 1 minute you're doing this, and then the next minute is this, is this, is this. But it doesn't feel like it's all over the place. It feels like it feels natural. It's like natural but chaotic at the same time. And I really enjoy that about this band.
Because it took quite a while because there were other members before, and you started the band, right?
So I started the band 7 years ago now, which is insane to think about. Because
at that point, I heard in an interview you were in another band, and your friend, he passed away.
Yeah, so my friend, his name's Shane Halliday. He taught me a lot back in the day. He taught me how to busk on the street and how to get a gig, is what I learned from him. We met through a couple of friends in an old band that we were in. And it was one of those that we worked together for about a year, and then he went away to work on yachts and stuff, because he worked on like private boats and stuff, and just I think he was doing like navigation and whatnot and all sorts of stuff. He was a very talented guy at just anything to do with boats. He could do it. He was from South Africa, really smart guy, but also loved music and understood the music, but also the business side of it. And that's kind of another person I learned massively off of. And then, unfortunately, just there was an accident, and that was it pretty much. And then I never sang in a band before.
But what happened? Were you in doubt? Like, okay, shit, this is what am I gonna do?
Yeah, there was a good 6 months of I don't really know if I want to play music anymore, to be honest, which was rough. It happened like a week before my 18th birthday, so it's kind of like an important moment in your life. And I remember getting the phone call. This is the worst part of it. This is the sob story. I was walking into my final exam for music at the high school I was at. So I was almost finished high school, a week until I finished high school, pretty much. Walking in to do my final exam. I'd done all my academic stuff. Now it was time for the music exam. I'd spent a year preparing and practicing and doing all my stuff. And as I opened the door to my exam, my phone rings, and it's Shane and I's mutual friend, Jono, and he phoned to tell me that he'd passed away. So I had to go into my music exam knowing that, and I just had to do it. And then I remember I got home and I just sat and played guitar for about 6 hours, just in absolute bits. And then my mom came home. I think she came home from work, and then she was like, she just knew instantly. Well, like
Something's wrong.
I didn't even say anything, but she just knew.
Mm.
I think she was like, oh no. And then my dad came home from work, and he'd got me tickets to go and see Free through in Glasgow that night. And I remember like as a surprise, because it was like an early birthday thing and whatnot. And then he was like, oh, you're fucking kidding. Like, you know, and they knew Shane very well, and they knew like the influence he had on me. He was, when I was like 17, he was like 23. So a bit older, like an older brother for me. I have a younger brother, but it was weird to have a like older brother kind of vibe with someone, which was cool. You know, he was like a mentor, older brother, pretty cool. And then, you know, like a phenomenal musician, great singer as well, just an all-round wicked guitar player as well, one of those. And then, yeah, we went and seen, I think I was sitting there for hours, you know, I didn't really want to talk. I just sat and played guitar. And then my dad forced me to go and see Free that night. And he was like, you know, as much as terrible as it was, I think the whole way through to Glasgow, I didn't say a word, didn't say nothing. I didn't speak for almost a week, I think, to anybody. I remember sitting on my 18th birthday, my family were there, and I just sat like that.
Oh man,
didn't speak to anyone because I just was like, you know, at that age.
No, but I
didn't have a band anymore. I didn't have my best friend anymore. I was like, okay, cool. I genuinely was like, I just don't really want to even do music for a good while. I didn't want to think about it.
But that's an interesting reaction that the first thing you do is play music nonstop.
Yeah.
And then you think, I don't want to play anymore.
And then once it started to set in, it was like this growing thing. And I don't know why. I don't know why I felt like that. It was weird because obviously now I love playing music and I still do.
What made it grow back?
I realized that I was being extremely stupid and that not playing music is probably the worst thing I could do, especially considering that, you know, the one thing that me and Shane loved was music. And I know for a fact he would have been like...
That's a cliche thing, but he probably
It is. He would be like, man, what the fuck are you doing? He would be, I know that he'd be very angry if I stopped playing music because that was his thing. Even when he went away and he was working, he was like, don't stop. You need to keep going and keep playing shows and get out and busk and, you know, learn from the street pretty much. Because at the time I was like, what do you mean learn from the street? But it made so much sense.
So you played together as a two-piece.
So there was 4 of us in the band, and then me and him we'd go busking together. And then when he wasn't there, I would then go busking on my own. And then, you know, when he was working, after high school, I'd always go around to his house and we'd hang out and we'd write songs and record stuff and make videos and all that kind of stuff, pretty much.
And in your hometown, or you traveled?
Yeah, in Edinburgh. I was always just busking in Edinburgh, and then I would go and busk in Glasgow sometimes, in Newcastle, which is maybe like a couple hours away. And then it was one of those. I think that I realized it was being stupid by quitting, and then I just kind of had to suck it up almost. I had to realize it was like no one's coming to save you. Almost, it was a turning point, and like I feel like I had to grow up at that point and kind of accept that I'm like, I can't control what happens in life, but I can control how I react to it. And I can either do something and make something of myself, or I can be the guy that's like, oh, everything happens to me. I never want to be like that. And I don't think that people should be like that. And I don't see it that way. If anything, I see it as horrible a subject as it is, and it's difficult to talk about even now. It's almost, you know, seven years ago. It was the one thing that made me realize that if you want to do something, you got to do it yourself, and you have to kind of go out and take it. It's there. It's all there. You have to just go and actually get it and do what you need to do, and accept that it's never going to be easy. And as cliche as it sounds, it's not, though. I think that a lot of people think that being good at their instrument is enough. That's fine, but there's a million amazing guitar players, and there's thousands, if not millions of them that are way better than I am. So I know it's subjective, but what I mean is, like, I look at certain guys and I'm like, man, Jesus, these guys are insane. And I just want to play music for as long as I can, pretty much, and keep doing it. And I think that it's just that urge to play music and to perform and do shows and see, I'm like, how far can I take this thing,
But
pretty much.
What do you think of that thought that it did take his passing away to have learned that lesson that way?
I think at a young age, it's a very like harsh lesson from life, but I think it is one of those things that it made me the way I am now, which I'm very grateful for in that sense that I'm not afraid of putting in the, after that, I think happening and being able, I wouldn't say recover, but as in to be able to push through something like that, it made me realize that anything else bad that happens will never be as bad as that. So, and I managed to survive that, so I can probably survive anything.
Or if it will, there will also be other things that come along with that horrible thing. Yeah,
right? Exactly. And I guess it is it's all about learning and just going through life. Like I'm 25 now, so it feels strange to be doing what we're doing now. And I know, like, I still keep in touch with his family and whatnot, and they're all very supportive. And my family are very supportive of what I do. And for a long time, it felt like I was the black sheep of the family and of my friends. And because I didn't really have many friends when I was in high school because I was so focused on just playing guitar. I was obsessed with it. Like, I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't want to go to the parties at the weekend and stuff. None of that stuff. I just want to play guitar. And yeah, it did feel like a kick in the teeth because I felt like I'd sacrificed so much of my time to play music. And then that happened. And then I never wanted to quit. I think it wasn't even the quitting. I just didn't want to feel that way anymore about it. And that's maybe the thing is I knew that I'd always play music, but I remember the other two guys in the band, Andy and Ian, like, the impact that it had on them is, you know, I just remember all three of us being like, for a long time. And they don't really play music anymore. And it's sad to see that kind of thing. Like it is strange because I think that we all dealt with it differently. And then after that, we weren't in a band together anymore. I think that we just kind of had to leave it. We did try and continue, and then I just reached a point where I was like, it's just not the same. I need to go my own way and do my thing.
But was that the moment where the idea of High Fade started?
So High Fade started after I'd taken a long break from trying to do my own thing. I joined a couple other bands. I was just playing guitar for a couple of bands, and it didn't really go well because I wanted to do my own thing. I was playing in these other bands and I just wasn't invested in it. And I could tell I wasn't invested in it. I just wanted to.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
I wanted to do my own thing and find people that I wanted to play with. And Ollie and I played in a band together. So post all of that stuff happening, Ollie and I met, we played in a 9-piece reggae band.
9-piece reggae band?
Yeah, it was like a reggae and ska band. And it was good fun, and I played in that for about a year, but playing reggae wasn't really for me. I have mad respect for reggae and ska. I do. I love it. I love I love a good knees up, but just no. For me, it wasn't the thing. I wasn't the right guitar player for that band. Yeah. And it was one of those at the time. When Ollie and I met, we didn't really get on because I joined this band. He'd been in that band for maybe 3 or 4 years or something.
Oh, you didn't get on?
We didn't get on because I was like the young kid on the block. I was like 18, maybe 19, I think I joined the band at. And then, we didn't get on because I was overplaying. I wasn't serving the music whatsoever because I was like, I want to shred. And he's like, it's a reggae.
Did he tell you this directly?
He told me to my face because Ollie's older than I am. Ollie's 33 now.
Yeah.
But at the time, it felt like he was way older than I was because I was 19 and what would he would have been like 25, 26. So it was one of those. It was kind of like.
How did you feel? Like were you defensive or did you?
No, I was at first. I was like, at first I genuinely didn't like him.
You say that very politely.
which is fun. Which is funny to think about because obviously we get on so well now. But I think it's like fire and water in a sense. We need each other. And then we played in that band together for about a year year and a half maybe. And then I left that band. The singer had a tantrum and all this kind of stuff. So I just was like, I'm out. I'll see you guys later.
Yeah.
And then I joined a different band after that. And then the same thing, singer syndrome. It was like a 7-piece band this time. And it was a different kind of thing. It was a bit more rocky, but it was still very like ska reggae thing. I was like, I just don't enjoy playing this stuff anymore. And I was like, I want to push myself. I want to play a style of music that forces me to be better. Like, I want to write things that I can't play yet, was my obsession.
Mm-hmm.
I want to write a riff that I'm like, that's a really cool riff, but it needs to be faster. I need to play it clean. I need to...
But you say 9-piece and a 7-piece. Now you're a 3-piece,
Yeah.
which is maybe the most powerful entity, right?
After my experience of playing with 9-piece, 7-piece, 4-piece, 5-piece, we collectively, Calvin, Ollie, and I, Hi-Fade used to be 5-piece, sometimes 6-piece. And it was just the logistics, the organizing, the people being late, not committed to the band.
But is it also communicating musically? Because if it's drum, bass, guitar.
The band is not as tight when there's too many of you.
Yeah.
It's too hard because this is the thing. Not everyone's coming to rehearsals. Not everyone is helping write the music. They're not as focused as you are at the gig. You know, some people just want to show up and drink beer and play music, and that's fine. But you're not there to do that. You're there to perform at your best for the people that are there and have spent money to see you play. So it feels like an insult if you show up and all you want to do is drink or do drugs or whatever. So we decided to go 3-piece. And all of the, you know, I think we're on lineup. All right, I'm on lineup, let me remember, 15 of Hi-Fade. So there's been 15 variations of Hi-Fade over the years.
But is this the one?
This is the one, and it has been for 2 years now. The most consistent lineup. And don't get me wrong, we've played with some amazing musicians. Everyone that's been in Hi-Fade at some point is a phenomenal musician. I will say that, even if there's been times where there's been disagreements. I won't say that anyone that's been in the band in some shape or form is a bad musician. They just wanted different things, and that's okay. And that's fine. If they want to be in 10 bands, that's cool. But I've always had a thing about, I think that when Calvin joined, I'd really reached a point where I was sick of people messing around and not being committed. And I remember saying to Calvin, I was like, if you join this band, you need to quit all your other bands. And that maybe makes me sound, I don't know, like a psychopath. But I'd reached a point where I was like, if this band is going to go anywhere and survive, because we'd started getting some good success just before kind of Calvin joined. And then I say to him, I was like, if you want to tour the world and we want to play as many shows as possible, you need to quit your other band.
Because I'm in the band, I don't like the bass player, so...
It was one of those. And Ollie, by that point, me and Ollie had both quit our jobs to fully pursue Hi-Fade. We were committed to it, but we couldn't find a committed drummer. And then we met Calvin. We had one jam with Calvin. Ollie and I both were like, yeah, this is the guy. And that was it, pretty much. And then Calvin did that, and I remember he showed up. We had like a meeting at a coffee shop, and he was like, yeah, cool, I've left all these other bands that I'm in. And I was like, oh, I was genuinely surprised because I didn't think that he would do it. No, nothing against Calvin, just I think that's a big thing to ask someone to do. But I was like, I'm not messing around with you. I was like, we've got the shows, we've got the, you know, the dates. Me and Ollie are both on this train, whatever train, the Hi-Fade train. I was like, we're fully committed to this. We've quit our jobs and everything, you know, like me and Ollie were broke at the time because we quit our jobs, and the only way we could survive was busking or playing in pubs, and that was it. And I think that by doing that, by almost having this ultimatum, it made the three of us be like, okay, and we made a pact. And then within 2 months, we all got a palm tree tattooed. That's it.
Oh, yeah?
So we all have one of these. Calvin had been in the band for 2 months and he got a palm tree tattoo. So that's not
why a palm tree?
You know what? I don't even know. Like the palm tree thing just became a thing because we used to always have neon lights. You know, like those really terrible, like €10 neon lights you get. We had like 10 of those on the stage at our gigs at one point. It was just a thing. It was kind of like a gimmick, but it was good fun because it was like a disco night kind of thing that we would try and do. We wouldn't say it like, we wouldn't sell it as just us playing. We were like, it would be a night. in a sense.
I wonder when it's
like
going to go to the palm tree.
Yeah, but we're currently getting one made in the States for the next tour.
Oh yeah,
That we're getting a big one, like a professional one. So I'm like, none of this.
Fate finally gets serious.
Finally gets a real neon palm, like an actual neon palm tree, not a rubbish one. Like, and then, sorry, I'm getting somewhere crazy with it. I think that yeah, you almost have to make this commitment if you're going to be in a band together. Because a lot of people ask, they're like, do you guys argue? Do you fight? Do you this? Yes, but we figure it out and we deal with it, and but not in a bad way.
Yeah, but it's very
It
valuable.
never blows up though. It's one of those. It's like, yeah, but people are under different things. We're all thinking different things, but we spend enough time with each other to know when to press on the gas and when to just.
But it's very valuable that somebody will tell in your face, "Hey, you play too much."
Yeah,
like
exactly. And
it's not easy, but
no,
important.
but and it taught me to be like that. If I don't like something, say it.
Yeah.
And it's better that, because then resentment builds, and then that's what ruins bands, is because they don't talk, they don't communicate. Some bands probably need a therapist or something, because
well, you've seen the Metallica documentary, right?
Yes. And then like when we were in the States together, I think that was very close quarters. We were in an RV together for 8 weeks. The first time, that was the true test of our friendship, our loyalty, our sanity. Because we were in an RV that was maybe living in the RV. We didn't stay in hotels. We lived in the RV. We slept in the RV every night. We got showered in the RV. It was cold. We cooked in the RV every day. It was us three and our driver, Jack. So there's 4 of us living in an RV that was no bigger than, half of this room maybe in the back. And we slept in there every night. And yeah, after 8 weeks, you really do know the people that you're with.
How do you smell?
There's one double bed, which is shared. So you're sharing with someone every night. And then there's one up the top, and then there's a table that converts into a bed, and then you're sleeping in that all the time, and it's rough and ready, and maybe most nights you're getting 4 or 5 hours sleep, and that's about it, because you're driving to the next show, and you can't sleep in the RV while you're driving, because it's like this, the amount of times I was almost asleep and I go just because you go flying. I think that really brought us together as a band. As difficult as it was, it made us realize that if we can do that, we can do anything. The same thing. I think a lot of my life has been about that. If I can do that, I can do anything. And it's always that next.
But it's all about building. If I hear you talk, it's like, because some bands, some musicians, it explodes, right?
Yeah.
But with you guys, it seems like it's very valuable to have had those experiences.
I feel
grow and to build and to grow and to build.
One thing that I kind of live by is if you build it and you build it slowly, it'll last just as long as it took you to build it. If it explodes overnight, it'll come down overnight as well. And it's one of those that I don't want that. I want to do this for forever if I can, in some shape or form. But then it's one of those. I think that I have a very different view on like High Fade to what like people who are fans of the band or see the band do. I just enjoy doing it. I don't have an expectation for the band. I'm happy going the way we're going, and as long as we can keep going the way we're going, great, fantastic. I don't know where that leads to. There isn't a finish line in mind or in sight. There's not even a tunnel with a light at the end of it. It's just we're just floating through this thing, and we'll play as many shows as it takes.
Yeah, we've reached the finish line, I guess. We haven't killed the fly yet.
No, we're gonna need to get.
I have a feeling I can talk much longer with you, man. But
yeah,
I hope someday we will again.
We should do this again for sure. I would like that. We'll be back in the Hague soon, or at least somewhere in the Netherlands, for sure.
Thanks so much for your time, Harry.
Thank you for yours. I appreciate it.
And listeners also, thanks.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. We'll see you soon.